welcome to a live Ask Flora episode. I'm so excited for you all to join me while I film this live for you. So this week's topic is not a question from one particular person. This Ask Flora topic is from an amalgamation of many people who have been asking me about this particular topic. So what is this topic? It's the truth about anxiety. And for those of you who are familiar with me and my background know that I have been diagnosed with anxiety and panic disorder and was in remission for many years and recently had 2 episodes of panic and anxiety. And I was like, really? And so I really felt the need, and plus I've been getting a lot of emails about this, you know, how I handle it, what my triggers are, how I diffuse it, how I manage it. And so I really wanted to do this live video because I want to let you know that you are not alone. If you have panic, if you have anxiety, if you have overwhelm, you absolutely are not alone. So I've got many different tips and tricks that I want to throw in here. I don't want to make this too long, but the first thing that I want to share with you and really impress upon you if you have anxiety and panic is know that it is a real thing. When I was in the ER, I'll explain my little episodes in just a second, but when I was in the ER, I was starting to really get down on myself, and the ER doctor said, "You do realize that anxiety is a real thing?" I'm like, "Yes, I know, but oh." And I said, "I know how to counteract it. I know how to lessen my triggers. I even teach this stuff." And he goes, "Hey, having anxiety, having panic is just like having heart disease. It's just like having diabetes. It's something you have for the rest of your life. It's something that you have to manage. You can go into remission for years, and not have anything." And what happens is for those of us who go through remission and have no episodes, nothing trigger us for years, what happens is we start to wane and not do and implement those tips and tricks that will keep us or keep that anxiety at bay. And so when we do have an episode or a flare-up, or we're in the ER, or we call 911, what happens is that's a signal for us to, hello, pay attention to your body, pay attention to what's going on, pay attention to your stressors, and implement those tools that you've been taught before. So that's what I'm going to get into today, is I'm going to get into some of the tips and tricks, some of my triggers, and some of the things that I feel can really help you. So my history, real quick, in a tiny nutshell, hopefully, my very first panic attack was August of 2004. I had just moved back. So the year prior to that, I had moved, I went through a divorce, a marriage and a divorce, moved to South Africa, moved back to South Africa, was at my sister's house for 7 to 9 months, you know, give or take a few. And then I moved from the West St. Paul area to Tulsa, and then I broke. I had a panic attack, and it was while I was driving, and everything kind of went like, it went absolute tunnel vision, and I was like, oh my God. Then they diagnosed me. They said, "You have panic and anxiety disorder." I'm like, what the hell? And I thought it was just from too much stress. I just needed to relax and just chill out. So whatever. So they put me on medication. I did not do well with that. My hair started falling out. It was bad. And I was like, I can't do this. And so I switched from what they had me on, which was, at first they had me on Prozac, and then they put me on Clexia with the clonazepam. The clonazepam made my hair fall out. The Clexia made me have really irrational thoughts, and so I'm like, I can't be on any of this stuff because I'm really sensitive. So I started to take St. John's wort. Now I was on St. John's wort for about 2 years, and then I weaned myself off of it. And during that time, I read every single thing that I could about depression, anxiety, panic, and found ways that helped me diffuse when I could feel that panic come. And, you know, some of the things I learned was, you know, 4-7-8 breathing, learning to respond instead of react. I learned to choose my reactions. I learned to really check in energetically with myself. How does things feel? How does this feel? Is this weird? Is this funky? Am I getting pissed? Am I feeling overwhelmed? And really allowed myself and gave myself permission to get up and leave a place if I knew I was feeling anxious or I knew that I was feeling that energy build up. You know, every single person on this planet has a different stress reaction. Some people, they're like ducks. I mean, absolutely everything just falls right off of them. Nothing sticks. There's other people that have a lower tolerance for things that we don't resonate with, a lower tolerance for things that energetically just don't feel good. And those of us who are very sensitive are usually the ones that have panic and anxiety. And so over the years, I've had many episodes where I've had to call 911 thinking I've had a heart attack. The last 2 months, I've had 2 episodes, whereas before I was in remission for several years. And I was sending emails, and I just sent this one email to someone, and I turned, and all of a sudden my neck and my chest got real tight, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm having a heart attack. And I was like, I was freaking out. I'm like, okay, I'm okay. And I tried to do my breathing, and it wasn't working, and I was like, oh my God, this sucks. Like, I'm like, okay, I'm good. Oh, no, I'm not, I'm having a heart attack. No, I'm good. And like literally, it was just in circles. And those of you who have anxiety, you understand exactly where I'm at. And so I grabbed some ice, put it on my heart space, grabbed my phone, called 911. I'm like, I don't know if I'm having a heart attack or if I'm just having a panic attack, but could you, send somebody over, please? And so at times I have an irregular heartbeat. I have like a little skip, like a little woo, like kind of like a little skip beat or whatever. And it just so happened that when they came in and put the heart monitors on me to see if I was having a heart attack, I did a little skip beat. And so they were like, and they looked at each other, they were like, oh my God, should we do the 12 one? Let's do the, so they first put like 5 or 6 stickers on me, and then they put like all these 12 stickers, and I'm like, oh shit, I'm having a heart attack, of course, which sent me spinning even further. And I was like, son of a bitch, this just sucks. Excuse my French. I am a Marine. And so all of a sudden they're just like, okay, calm down, relax. And so I got my lavender essential oil, and I'm smelling it, and I'm trying to calm down. And then finally I settled down a little bit after they were talking with me, and they're like, I think this is just anxiety. And I was like, damn it. Just when I thought I had a handle, literally there was years that I went before I had this panic attack, and I was like, what the heck? And so I had to stop, and I had to really think about what had I been going through that I was missing the signals. Yes, I'd been working longer hours. I was planning for a retreat. I was doing all these kind of extra things and had not been doing as much meditation. I hadn't been doing as much walking. I was having a little bit more coffee than normal. I wasn't eating as regularly as normal. And that's what triggered it. And so that's the next thing that I want to share with you is know your triggers. When you know and are very intimate with your triggers, you can manage your anxiety. The next episode that I had was just a few days, well actually last week Tuesday. I was working, and all of a sudden my ear kind of started ringing, and it felt like everything was just kind of pulled and kind of muted a little bit to the right, and I was like, what is this? And then, because that pull was there, it sent that little shock wave in my body. And for those of you who have anxiety, you know what I'm talking about. It's the anxiety about the anxiety. And I was like, oh shit, no, I'm good. And so I just had some water, and I'm like, okay, have I eaten? Did I get enough sleep last night? How much coffee have I had? I had an extra cup of coffee that day, so I'm going, okay, it's the extra caffeine. I'm good. The next day, because we just switched to this new coffee, and I was like, oh, this is so good. So I had an extra couple of cups, The next day, Wednesday, I'm on my live call, on my What's Up Wednesday call in the inner circle. And again, I had this ringing in my ear and a shock wave. I'm in the middle of lecturing, and I'm going, shit, I have to keep it together. And I'm like, okay. So I get my water, I sit down on my couch, and I'm like, okay. And I'm like, okay, peeps, you got to take over. Because they take over anyway, because it's a spirit-led call that I do every Wednesday. But still, I was like, I have to keep this together because I'm on a live call. And so I was drinking water, and I was doing my breathing and really allowing myself to stay in flow of my call. And then I felt it pass, but I was like, what the hell is that about? And then I also noticed too, after the ringing in my ear, I noticed that my arms in the middle of my tongue were getting a little tingly. And I was like, oh shit. And I'm like, well, maybe it's the extra coffee. Okay, fine. So, Thursday comes around, and I still have tingling all down my arms, in my hands, a little bit of soreness in my neck, and tingling in the middle of my tongue. I'm like, shit, maybe I should call somebody because I don't think this is normal. And mind you, this is never, this type of stress reaction has never happened to me before. So I email my chiropractor and asked him, I'm like, hey, this is what's going on. He's like, you need to go to the ER right away. I'm like, oh, shit. I'm like, no, maybe it's just anxiety. Maybe I'm just stressed out. He's like, you need to go to the ER right away. If you can't make it now, then you need to at least call your primary care physician. Cause I'm like, I have a full deck of clients in the afternoon cause I've got a call. Well, anyway. And so I was like, shit. And I was, avoiding it. I was putting it off. And so I called my primary care, let them know what was going on. And the nurse said, you need to be seen right away. Go to the ER. I'm like, shit. I'm like, it takes me an hour to, to get there. They're like, go to the one in your town. I'll put a note in here. You're going to be fine. And I was like, shit. So of course, them telling me you need to go to the ER right away, of course, that's triggering my anxiety. And I'm like, son of a bitch, I can't believe this is happening. And I'm like, okay, mind you, I am not feeling anxious. I mean, okay, when they told me to go to the ER, yes, I started to feel anxious, but this tingling was constant Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. And I'm going, what the heck is this? And so I get to the ER, and of course, I'm freaked out because I'm at the ER, so my anxiety starts to spike. I start crying. I'm like, I've got anxiety, and I've got tingling in my arms, and I don't know what's going on, and I'm trying to breathe, and I'm using my essential oils, and she's like, okay, sit down, relax, you're going to be okay. So I go back there, and they did all this testing, muscle testing, I mean, the whole shebang. I'm back there for several hours, and the guy said, this is just a stress reaction. You just have anxiety. And I'm like, are you kidding me? And the thing that threw me for a loop was that this type of stress reaction or release was nothing like I'd ever experienced before. And I'm sharing this story with you to let you know that our stress reaction can morph over the years. It can change over the years. And what are my triggers? What were my triggers? Is I had extra coffee all week. I had, 2 cups on Monday. And normally I use a little 8-ounce glass, but I had used like a 12-ounce, and I had 2 12-ounce, so I was like all pumped up on caffeine. And I was like, woo! I was absolutely wired on coffee. And I know better than that. More than 1 cup and I'm a goner. I mean, I'm done. And many times I drink decaf. And that was my one trigger that really just... I was walking, but I didn't walk as long as I normally did, because that's one of the ways that I manage my anxiety is to walk and to get out my physical energy. It's been cold, the wind's been ripping, so I've only been walking 20 to 30 minutes and not doing anything else. That was another thing that I was doing. Something else that I was doing was I'm traveling, at various times over the next several months, and so there's things that I need to put in place behind the scenes before I leave, and I was trying to get them all done right at once, and I'm like, oh, I can't do that. So I was feeling a little overwhelmed because I put too much on my plate. And so my main thing for you that I would recommend is that you get very, very intimate with your triggers. What triggers you? For me, mine is if I don't sleep well, if I have too much coffee, if I haven't eaten very much, and if I overscheduled myself. I am an outgoing introvert. I love what I do, so much so that I will go out there and I will tell the world. But when I'm done telling the world, I become a hermit. I like to sit on my couch. That's why I have such a big couch. I sit on there, I read, I'll play Yahtzee on my phone. Some of you I'm playing on Yahtzee, but anyway, I like to just, and I need that cocoon time. I need that time to just go within and just be. Other things that I do that I've learned over the years is I work with aromatherapy. I have a book, Flora's Fragrances. I love aromatherapy. One of my favorites right now at this time, and I did a video about this before, is lavender, lemongrass, and sage. I use that to clear my energy before bed. I use it to clear my energy when I first wake up. I also have a free download on my website called R&R, which is Release and Recall. And thank you very much, Dawn. I'm actually feeling fine. I mean, I'm feeling really great. It was shocking to have 2 episodes in 2 months after years of being in remission. I was like, are you kidding me? But what happens, and I mentioned this, previously, is when we go into remission, many times we stop doing certain things that keep us in check, that keeps our anxiety in check. Kind of like if you have diabetes, you have to watch your blood sugar, you got to work out, you got to watch your weight. And if you don't keep those things in check, boom, okay, you got a problem again, you got to go to the doctor. That's the same thing with anxiety. You've got to put maintenance things in place so when you do have an episode, it hopefully isn't as extreme, but also hopefully you can keep those episodes at bay so you can start to feel the energy building up and you can go, okay, wait a minute, I know what to do. And so some of the other things, 4-7-8 breathing, this is something that is fabulous, 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 is you breathe in for 4, and you can just tap your finger on a table or whatever, breathe in for 4, hold it for 7, and breathe out for 8. I do this before I do public speaking. Because I get really excited and it almost feels like nerves, but I know it's just excitement. And so I start to breathe really shallow because I'm like, oh my God, I'm so excited, yay! So I do the 4-7-8 breathing, and it physiologically allows my body to just relax, come to center, calm, and then when I go up there, boom, I'm bang on. Another thing that you can do is EFT, emotional freedom technique, or tapping. You know, you can tap. There's all different types of videos that you can use for tapping. You can go to therapy. I'm a huge fan of therapy. If you can't afford a therapist or a coach, watch videos like this. I'm actually getting ready to release a class. We're enrolling on October 21st. And classes start on November 2nd because so many people have been asking me, Flora, what do you do? Because you seem so positive. I am positive, but I still have anxiety. What do you do to maintain and keep that anxiety at bay? And so it's going to be 4 classes. It's probably going to be 90 minutes per week. And then after I'm done with the live section, I'm actually going to package it and sell it. And I'm only going to be selling it for $47, whether you're on the live call or whether you're buying the package. I'm making it very inexpensive. So anybody and everybody who wants my point of view, looking at it from the spiritual aspect as well as the practical aspect or kind of mundane aspect, on things that have helped me and things that work for me and also the people that I coach, because I coach a lot of people with anxiety. So I'm making this at a very reasonable price so that if you want some help and you can't afford a therapist, you at least have one resource. But I would highly recommend that if you are able to, go seek out a therapist, because everybody's triggers are different. Everybody's triggers are important and they're real. So please don't think that anxiety and panic is just all in your head, please. And also know that you're not alone. There's a lot of us that have panic and anxiety, and it's a real thing, and all of us are dealing with it in some form or fashion who have it. So another thing that you can do to help yourself manage it is to reframe. When you feel that anxiety coming up, stop and reframe it. And I actually teach my clients how to do this. I've actually done my group coaching called Finally Fearless. I used to do it a lot last year and the year before that, but I've kind of taken a break. But that's what this class next month is going to be, Finally Fearless Group Coaching. And I teach you exactly how to reframe, which is awesome. And you can do that not when you're having a full-blown panic, but when you feel it start to come in and you start to recognize a trigger. And one of my triggers used to be jealousy, because I had abandonment issues because I got kicked out when I was 16. That's a whole nother can of worms and a whole nother story. But when I would feel that jealousy come up or come in, I'd be like, nope, okay. And I started to reframe it, and I started to work through the 5 steps, which I share in my class. But that allowed me to really get a huge handle on that, so much so that now that's not even a problem. So another thing that I would encourage you to look at is supplements. I am not a doctor. If you are wanting to take a supplement, please consult your physician, healthcare providers about what supplements might work for you. I do not do well on any type of anything. I mean, I don't. Any medications, I'm not good at. I respond very badly to them. I'm allergic to almost all narcotics, if not all narcotics. So my choices are very limited. What has worked for me for my anxiety is fish oil. I take massive, mega doses of fish oil every other day. I take mega doses of D3. I also take a Cal Mag and D supplement, and I also have a supplement, it's called Calm, and it's like this powder that you mix in water, and I usually drink it about an hour before I go to bed. Ooh, I love it. Some people don't like it, but I really like it. But anyway, And then also one of the things that I would recommend that you look into to help manage your anxiety and your panic is exercise, some form of exercise. Like I said, those of us who have panic and anxiety many times we have a very low tolerance and low threshold for bullshit, basically, and for things that don't resonate with us. And so when all this stuff starts piling on and piling on and piling on, and we choose not to walk out of the situation, and we choose not to voice our opinions, we have an episode and we start to feel overwhelmed and we start to get out of remission and we're just like, well, shit, now what do I do? And so when you walk, first of all, it's a great excuse. Okay, I'm leaving, I'm gonna go for a walk. So you can like leave whatever, if you're at Thanksgiving and you're getting stressed out, if you're at any of the December holidays, you can get up and walk out. You can say, I'm gonna go for a little walk, and that can help clear the energy from your physical body. You can also practice your mantras, or you can practice breathing. You can bring in some aromatherapy while you're walking. I have a little pouch in my purse where I've got aromatherapies. I also have Bach flower essences. I also have Rescue Remedy from the Bach Flower Institute, or the Bach Institute. But the reason why I'm sharing all of this with you is because there are ways that you can manage your anxiety. There are ways and there's tools that you can use, but you just have to be willing to first and foremost recognize that anxiety is a real thing. It's not made up. It's not in your head. And second, be willing to explore what your triggers are. And when you explore that and when you get really honest with yourself about what those triggers are, that's when you can start to really get a handle on it. Like I said, my very first trigger for anxiety, well, it was overwhelm, but the first one that I went to for a therapist was anxiety about abandonment. Because again, that was an old childhood trigger that I didn't deal with because I didn't really know what it was. I was like, oh my God, this is totally a trigger for me. So I went to therapy. I did EMDR therapy. I would recommend that you do an internet search about EMDR if you're interested. EMDR works really good for trauma victims, as well as if you have supercharged emotional triggers. And once you clear those really dense emotional triggers through most of the time therapy, then you can work on these other smaller triggers. And those are the ones that I was talking about earlier, which is coffee, having too much coffee, not getting enough sleep, not eating enough, putting too much on my plate and being too out there socially, and really overextending myself. But everybody's triggers are different. For some people, it's public speaking. For some people, it's going out in public. For some people, it's whatever. One of the other things that triggered my anxiety was I had an allergy shot. On this side, it was cat and roach, and I went anaphylactic. I had to give myself my EpiPen, and that was the scariest thing that I have ever been through. And recently, I traveled to New York, and the whole time I was there, I was anxious because I've heard stories about buildings being carried away from roaches. I'm just kidding, but pretty much, having this giant roach problem, and I'm like, crap, I can tell if a restaurant is clean or not. And so I was afraid, literally petrified, to eat anything there because I'm going, oh my God, what if there's any amount of roach on it, then I'll go anaphylactic. And so of course I was like calming myself down. I didn't have a panic attack and anxiety, thank God, the whole time I was there. But the whole time I was there, I was still going, okay, and I would brace myself every time I started to eat something. And so I bought a lot of prepackaged stuff because I knew that in certain facilities, I know there's a certain amount of bugs and everything that we eat from packaged places, but you know what I mean. But it's something that when you're aware of your triggers, that can help lessen the stronghold that it has on you. Let me see. Another thing, I got some notes here because I'm trying to stay on task even though I've been on for 25 minutes. Another thing is that if you're feeling overwhelmed, one of the things that I would encourage you to look at is many times overwhelm is caused from a feeling of not being in control. So if you're pissed off, if you're anxious, if you're feeling overwhelmed and you're feeling constantly triggered, stop, find your heart space, clear your energy. I have a beautiful exercise. It's a one-page PDF called R&R. Release your energy, recall your energy. Find your center, and then ask yourself, okay, what am I in control of here? Am I in control of this person's actions? No. So in relation to that person, what am I in control of? I'm in control of how I react or respond to that person. Okay, so look at where you're at, what situation you're in, what scenario that you're in, and really ask yourself, what am I in control of here and what am I not in control of? Not in a bad way, like, oh my God, I'm out of control, like you're on a roller coaster or something, but ask yourself, what can I choose to focus on and what can I choose to not focus on? And sometimes you can choose to just get up and walk out if you're feeling like you're being triggered by a specific person or place or thing in wherever that you're at. But the key, again, and I know I keep going back to this because it's so vitally important, is to get very, very intimate with your triggers. Be very intimate with your triggers, because when you know them, that's when you can start to put things in place so that you can hopefully keep your anxiety and keep your panic at bay. And like I said, this past 2 months I had 2 episodes because I was drinking more coffee. I was putting more on my plate than I knew better. I knew better, but I was putting more on my plate than I normally did. I wasn't eating as regularly as I normally do. I need heavy protein in the morning, and I'd been eating a banana and a cup of coffee. Okay, hello, I need protein. So this is something that when you get very intimate with your anxiety, then you can keep it at bay. So, I think that's all that I have for today. Again, I am going to be offering a class about this so we can dive deep, because so many of us struggle with this, and so we don't have to struggle with it. We don't. Like I said, this is a real thing. This is just like diabetes. This is just like heart disease. It can be managed, but you have to be willing to recognize that it's not in your head. It's actually a real thing, and to start being really hyper aware and self-aware of when do you feel your anxiety start to bubble? Where do you feel it start to percolate? What are you doing? Who are you with? Where are you at? I would recognize that when I would drive long distances, I would kind of get this vertigo feeling, and I'm like, oh my God, I don't like this. So I would say, okay, wait, and it wasn't all the time. And I was like, okay, what did I do earlier that's making me feel this way? And I'm going, I had coffee, I caffeinated coffee. Maybe I didn't eat good. Maybe I didn't sleep well. There was a couple times where I didn't drink caffeinated coffee and I ate really good, but I slept like crap the night before and my driving was all wonky. So I was like, okay, and that's how I really was able to whittle down and really fine tune, okay, those are my 3 main triggers: coffee, food, and sleep. And then the next one, but these are the top 3, the next one was if I overschedule myself. I'm a goner. So again, pay attention to those triggers. Pay attention to those things that really allow you or bring out that anxiety and that shock through your body, or the feeling of the tight chestedness, or the feeling of the racing thoughts, or the feeling of you're going to lose control. Give yourself permission to recognize what your trigger is, and then start to implement things like the 4-7-8 breathing that I talked about earlier, the R&R, talking to a therapist. If you're a veteran, there's the Veterans Crisis Line, Veterans Crisis Line, as well as the Veterans Talk Line. So there's 2 different lines if you're a veteran that you can call. There's a suicide prevention hotline if you're having irrational suicidal thoughts. I think there's a regular talk line for civilians, and I'm sorry that I don't know the name of it, but I'm pretty sure that there is. So, or just call a friend, call a family member, say, hey, I'm having kind of an anxious episode. I'm not full blown, but I want to keep it, I want to diffuse it before it gets out of hand. Can you come over, or can I come over there? Can we just talk? Or go for a walk, or do some meditation, or take an Epsom salt bath. Oh my gosh, Epsom salt baths are amazing because they have magnesium in it. Magnesium, when it's dissolved in water, it will soak into and be transferred from the water into your cells and into your body, and it has a very, very calming effect. That's why I take magnesium every day, and I also take several Epsom salt baths each week. So again, know that you're not alone. Know that this is a real thing and it's not just in your head. And again, get very intimate with your triggers and find someone to talk to, whether it's a therapist, a coach, or a friend, but know that you're not alone. And also be willing to look at ways that you can utilize periodically or every day that will help diffuse and manage these particular triggers that may cause your anxiety or your panic. And again, earlier, I shared with you my different stages or my different episodes and how they were vastly different. The first one, I was driving and all of a sudden everything went like this kind of tunnel vision. The next one, I had actually, I had hurt my back or tweaked it, and they gave me Flexeril and I felt it kick in. I'm allergic to Flexeril, by the way. I felt it kick in and it went whew, and there was like this shock on my body, and then I couldn't breathe, and I was like, oh my God. So, and we're actually traveling. We were in Arkansas for my son's soccer team, and I had my EpiPen in one hand and my inhaler in the other going, oh my God, what do I do? And my husband at the time looked at me, he's like, shit, what do I do? We ended up calling 911. I went in the ER. I was like, gosh, really? And, you know, and then like the other one, I felt like I was having a heart attack. The next one, just tingling. I was fine. Mentally, I'm like, yeah, I'm good. But I was actually getting a physical sensation without the other physical or physiological panic trigger or sensations that I normally had. So again, you know, panic and anxiety can show up in many different ways, but many times it happens when we ignore our triggers and we don't do or we stop implementing those things that can help us maintain a really healthy, harmonious balance in our life. I have a whole class about balance versus harmony. I very much believe in harmony instead of balance, but for all intents and purposes, we want to create balance in our life. So, if you want to sign up for the class, if you want to get notifications, if you are on my mailing list, make sure that you're getting my emails. I do send them in HTML. Sometimes I send them in plain text. But if you don't get my emails, go to florasage.com, sign up for my newsletter, and keep an eye out. Also keep an eye out on my Facebook page here, as well as on the front page of my website, because I will be posting a little graphic so that you can sign up. If you want to attend the live call, I will be doing laser coaching for the class. And like I said, it's only going to be $47. We're going to have 4 live classes. They're probably going to be about like 90 minutes each. And I'm going to teach you in depth all of the tools that I use that work for me and that also have worked for my clients in helping to diffuse anxiety and panic and help to bring in an action plan, if you will, to maintain that healthy status quo in your life so that we can go into remission and stay there without having episodes. Also, that class is going to be taped. We are going to have it over the phone, so it's going to be audio classes. Many of my people love audio classes because they can download it on their phone or, you know, on their MP3 or iPod or whatever they're downloading it on. And then they listen to them while they're, you know, on the way to work, while they're walking, whatever. So that's how I do the majority of the inner circle classes and whatnot. But after the class is finished, we are starting, the first class is going to be November 2nd, 9th, 16th, and 23rd, and then it will be available for sale on my website. And again, this is going to be a 4-class series, about 90 minutes each week, and we also are going to have worksheets and kind of a workbook, if you will, with it. So, because I'm here to serve and I'm here to share all my tips and tricks on what works for me. And again, like I said, I believe that I had these 2 episodes because I wasn't doing all of those things that I normally would do. Because again, I overscheduled myself, which is one of my triggers, and I admit it. So anyway, I hope you all have a fabulous, fabulous, fabulous rest of your week. I know today is Tuesday, but I hope you've enjoyed seeing this live Ask Flora segment. I know this is long, but I love doing these videos. These just rock. So anyway, if you like this video, please, okay, I'm going to do this for my YouTube people because I'm going to be transferring this to YouTube. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and share it with your friends on Facebook, Twitter, or any other social media platform. If you've really loved it, please subscribe so you won't miss one single episode of Ask Flora, where I answer your questions to help you simplify and streamline your life and your business. So thank you very much, Michelle. I appreciate you for being on here. And you too, Lisa. Yay! And all the other viewers, thank you so very much for joining me for this live taping of Ask Flora. And if you have a question for this Ask Flora segment, please email me, flora@florasage.com, and I would be more than happy to answer your questions. Until next time, bye-bye.